What's going on, everybody? Coach MccDann here. In Smash Ultimate, making the most out of every interaction matters. So today, we'll be going over the Grappler archetype, where we cover characters that are designed with this key factor in mind. There's a pretty good chance you've jumped straight into this guide with a certain idea of what a Grappler character would identify as. Many of you are thinking of a certain character with a long-range grab, like Samus or Young Link, to which I say, well, sorta. But we'll get into more on why that is in just a bit. But before that, let me ask you this question. Have you ever played a match in Smash and asked yourself, why are certain attacks not able to connect with each other? Fortunately for you, this implies that you're not the only person in this situation. Some characters in Smash Ultimate simply don't have nearly as many bread and butter combos that are always guaranteed. But luckily for those exploring this archetype, this is exactly what grapplers are known best for. So with that being said, let's explore our options. Feel free to check out the selection of characters you see on screen right now and play 3 games with one of them or more. After that, we'll dive into more factors of this archetype. What makes a Grappler character involves a few key factors that should always be taken note of when going into a battle. Grappler characters are typically faster or slower in nature, no real in between on this one, due to the varying sizes of each character. They have exceptional attack options that can dominate over some other characters throughout the game. But primarily, the most important feature we will be covering with Grapplers today has to do with the benefit of, drumroll please, they're grabs, of course! The name makes sense now. Grapplers not only have grab options that can set up into other attacks easier, but also incorporate unique special moves that rely on grabs to rack up damage as well. Primarily though, grapplers thrive off of interactions that stem off of grabs they land. Now this doesn't mean that this is the only tool in their kit to take whole stocks, but landing grabs would allow the opportunities to earn most of their damage to their opponent, or in some cases, like with Luigi, entire stocks with 0 to death combos. Usually in certain matches involving Grappler characters, reaction time and avoidance are 2 key factors that matter most in battle. Typically, Grappler characters over time learn exactly how an opponent likes to approach, what specifically they avoid, as well as bait out certain outcomes to set up for something entirely different. Some players often struggle with characters in this archetype when they don't allow for much room between each other to maintain a safe neutral ground. This is something to keep in mind as you learn the ways of how your opponent plays. So, as we move on, let's get into that second factor from earlier, avoidance, and explain how this can be a difficult aspect for players with characters in this archetype to adapt to. One major pitfall that Grappler characters struggle with the most involves the willingness to be patient enough for their moment of action. Every Smash player makes mistakes, ourselves included, but you can at least be aware of what mistakes your opponent makes that allow you to earn your chance to strike. But there's a good chance that you either play another opponent who is more competent with spacing themselves out and keeping safe distances. It's going to be a bit more tricky to understand yourself. What matters most in situations like these is that you do your best to not put yourself in a position to be punished, as Grappler characters tend to have even more harsh disadvantage states, such as poor recovery methods and lack of useful projectiles. What makes a good Grappler character involves the understanding of bait and punishing, as this allows for an opponent to output an action, and the Grappler player can respond with an opposing reaction. This is a concept that stretches throughout the playstyle of each character in the game, but with Grappler characters, gives this gameplay strategy a whole new meaning. Alright, we just went over the Grappler archetype. This will help you determine going forward what a match will seem like involving these characters in the future once you come across them in battle. Playing 3 to 5 games against a CPU level you're comfortable with, as well as selecting a character from this category you've played the least of, will not only build your knowledge on that character matchup, but allow you to get a general understanding of how all characters in this archetype perform.